By every rule of logic, this city should not exist. No wheel, no iron tools, no written language, and yet a stone city in the clouds. It clings to a knife-edge ridge 8,000 feet up, wedged between two cliffs in an earthquake zone. 5.5 centuries ago, it was alive, fires burning, water running, people everywhere. Then everyone vanished, so quietly the Spanish conquerors never even found it. I used AI to rebuild Machu Picchu as it likely looked at its peak, grounded in archaeology and excavation records. Where the experts disagree, I'll tell you. So how do you build this here? And why would anyone walk away?
Start with where, because where makes no sense at all. Picture the eastern slopes of the Peruvian Andes, where the mountains drop into cloud forest. A narrow ridge, barely a saddle of rock, runs between two peaks, Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu. On both sides, the ground simply falls away, sheer cliffs hundreds of feet straight down. This is earthquake country. The whole range is still rising, still shifting, still cracking apart. And it rains, nearly 2,000 millimeters a year, enough to wash a mountainside into the river. Now imagine you have to get here. You climb for days from Cusco, on foot, along the spine of the Andes. There are no roads as you know them, no wheels turn here. There never were any. You round a final ridge and the world opens. Below you, the Urubamba River coils like a silver rope. And there, on the impossible spine of rock, stands a city of white stone and golden thatch. This is the question that has haunted everyone who reaches it. Why here? Why build where everything fights you? One idea, the stars. The ridge line lines up with the sun on the solstices, a calendar carved in stone. Another, status. This may have been the country estate of an emperor, with a view fit for a god. And a third, the sacred. Rivers meet below, and the mountains themselves were living gods, apus. We may never know for certain. By one reading, it was all three at once. The man behind it was Pachacuti, the emperor who remade the Inca world around the 1450s.
Mira esa cresta lejana. Allí construiremos. Sí, Zapa Inca, un gran proyecto. Nuestra visión dominará el paisaje.
The place almost no one could reach would one day become the most recognized silhouette on the continent. So how do you build a city here with no iron, no wheel, no animals to pull a load? Start with the stone. They didn't haul it up the mountain was the quarry. Right on the ridge sits a field of shattered granite, Caos Granitico, the builder's stone yard. Crews split rough blocks from the bedrock using stone hammers, wooden wedges, and water. no metal saws. To shape granite, they ground stone against stone, patient, endless, by hand. Then they moved it, earthen ramps, log rollers, ropes, and the muscle of dozens of workers. The heaviest blocks weighed several tons, heavier than a car, dragged by hand up a mountainside. And here is the first wonder. They fit the stones without mortar, nothing between them at all. Block ground against block, until the seam was so tight you cannot slide a knife blade in. 500 years of rain and earthquakes later, many of those joints still hold. Now the second wonder, how the city survives the shaking ground. The doorways and windows lean inward. The walls tilt slightly inward too, and with no mortar locking them, the stones can move. When the earth quakes, the blocks dance in place and settle back exactly where they belong. But the greatest feat is the one no one photographs. Most of this city is underground. By engineers' estimates, around 60% of the building work is buried beneath your feet. Under every terrace and floor lie hidden layers, crushed rock, gravel, sand, built to drain. More than 100 channels carry the rain away, so the slope never turns to mud and slides. Without that buried skeleton, this ridge would have slumped into the valley within a few years. The most beautiful walls get the cameras. The work that holds the city up stays in the dark. Think of the nameless crews. For them, this was years of one life, stone after stone. So let's step inside. It's dawn, and the city is waking around you. You're standing on the spine of the ridge, mist pouring through the terraces below your feet. The first light catches the thatch roofs and turns them to gold. Smoke rises from 100 hearths. Walk into the residential quarter, the kancha, rectangular courtyards ringed by stone houses. You duck through a low trapezoid doorway into a single room under a steep thatch roof. A family is already up. A fire glows in the corner, and the air smells of smoke and damp straw. Guinea pigs, kui, scurry along the base of the wall. To this family, they're food, not pets. A woman kneels at a backstrap loom, weaving a band of sharp geometric color, thread by thread. In the niches along the wall sit jars and tools, and a llama hide softens the cold stone floor. Step back out. The cold granite bites through your sandals. Your breath shows in the thin air. Above you, rises the upper town, the sacred quarter, where stone is cut to a finer edge. You climb toward a single curved wall, the only round building in the city, the Temple of the Sun. It sits on a great natural boulder above the cliff, its stones fitted so smoothly they seem poured. Set into the curve is a trapezoid window, aimed where the solstice sun will rise. On the solstice, a blade of light enters that window and lands on a carved stone within. A priest waits in the dark for it, smoke from an offering curling around his shoulders.
Inti, Father, return to us, warm the stones, and the seed will follow.
The light touches the stone, and the year turns. The sun has been caught and called back.
Now follow the sound of water. It has been with you this whole time, threading through the city. 16 stone fountains step down the slope, one feeding the next, all from a single channel. The water falls nearly 26 meters from the first fountain to the last, entirely by gravity. And the first fountain stands beside the ruler's house. Water is power, and the highest drinks first. You cup a handful. It's cold, clean, and it has run down this same stone for 5 centuries.
Climb to the highest platform. A single carved stone waits there, no taller than your chest. Its angled point catches shadow and light. The Inca called it the place where the sun is tied. For the priests who read the sky, this rough granite gnome was an instrument as precise as any. From up here, you see the whole plan. A great grassy plaza splits the city in two. Above it, the temples. Below it, the houses and workshops. Gods up high, life down low. Across the plaza stands the Temple of the Three Windows, 3 great trapezoids facing the square. Through them, the sunrise floods the stone. The whole city is built to frame the sky. Stand still a moment. Wood smoke, wet thatch, the ring of water on stone, the cold of dawn. Everything you've seen, the walls, the water, the windows, was made to do one thing. Not to defend, not to trade, but to hold a conversation between people, mountains, and the sun. The most expensive plumbing of its age served a ritual, not a comfort, and that tells you what mattered. This is a machine for living between earth and sky, and you are standing inside it.
But who were they? The people who woke in these courtyards every morning. Start with how many. This was no metropolis. Machu Picchu was small and exclusive.
At its peak, perhaps 500 to 750 people lived here year-round. Estimates differ, and many were seasonal, servants and skilled workers who came and went. You may have heard it was a city of women. Set that aside. Newer studies don't support it. Re-examined skeletons and DNA point to a mixed community of men, women, and children. And here's the surprise. They weren't locals. They came from all over the empire. Bone chemistry and ancient DNA revealed people raised in distant regions, brought together here. So the city of the gods was kept alive by people gathered and often moved from far away. Watch what they eat. Terraced fields and storehouses feed the ridge through every season. Maize and quinoa, potatoes of which the empire grew thousands of varieties, llama meat and cuy,
Chicha para la ofrenda.
and chicha, a tart fermented maize beer poured at every feast and offered to the gods. On a terrace, a feast is laid out, steaming food, bright cloth, the smell of roasting meat. Flute players and drummers fill the courtyard. The reed flute, the quina, carries over the valley. Above it all sits their faith, the sun, Inti, the moon, Mama Kila, the earth, Pachamama, and the mountains, the Apus, were not scenery, they were living beings, owed respect. The city sits clamped between two of them, Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu, sacred on both sides.
Apu Pachamama chaskiku kay ofrendata. Inti taita chaweiku asikuta. Ama hinakaichu sumakausaita kwaiku.
At dawn, a priest turns to the peaks and speaks to them, as you would speak to an elder.
And there is a harder truth, told plainly, not for shock. The Inca practiced kepakocha, ritual offerings that, in times of crisis, could include children. It was rare, reserved for the empire's darkest moments: drought, plague, the death of a king. We don't dwell on it, we show it the way they understood it, as a sacrifice given to the gods. Picture one weaver, or one boy who carries water up these steps each morning. Which makes the ending so strange. The city thrived for roughly a century, and then it emptied. No siege, no battle, no conqueror's fire. The Spanish never even found it. So why is it empty? Let me be clear. What follows are the leading explanations, not a verdict. Here's what we know. The first answer arrived before the Spanish did: disease, running ahead of the conquerors. Smallpox swept into the Andes in the 1520s, carried south faster than any European army. By many estimates, it killed a vast share of the population, though the true toll is debated. It likely took the emperor himself, Huayna Capac, and his heir around 1527. His death lit the second fire, a war of succession between his sons. Huáscar against Atahualpa, brothers, armies, the whole empire pulled apart from within. A remote royal estate like this one could be drained of people and purpose almost overnight. And the third answer is the quietest. Perhaps the city didn't die, perhaps it was left. The elite may have walked away, taking their sacred things, and the forest closed over the rich. That would explain the silence, and why no Spanish soldier ever stumbled onto it. Three explanations, and the honest answer may be that all three happened at once.
For 4 centuries, the outside world forgot it. Then, in 1911, Hiram Bingham climbed up. He called it a discovery, but he was met by local farmers already growing maize on its terraces. The city had never truly been lost. It was only lost to everyone who lived far away.
Alpap kausainin sumak.
Au mi sumaglanya. Uiwakun alimi.
Ari sumak.
The families on the ridge had known it all along. The world simply hadn't been listening. So the great mystery isn't really where it went. It's that it never left at all. It just waited between the peaks for the rest of us to climb high enough to see it. Come back to the ridge one last time, now at sunset. Golden light fills the courtyards, the thatch glows, the mist gathers again below the walls. Machu Picchu was never a fortress. It was a place where an emperor watched the stars, where water was made to speak with stone, where people lived literally between earth and sky. Built in a place that made no sense, lived in for less than 100 years, and then quietly handed back to the clouds. If you could walk one morning through this living city, where would you stand first? Hit like and tell me below. Subscribe and tell me in the comments which lost city should I bring back to life next.